Well, we're bringing in Jim Walsh now from Boston. He is a senior research associate for the Massachusetts Institute of Technology's Security Studies program and a frequent guest here on our programs. I want to get to the heart of the matter, which really has to do with how you define denuclearization. What does it mean for Pyongyang? What does it mean for the United States? We did hear Pompeo say that all elements of their nuclear program must be dismantled, sort of including that in the concept of CVID, or complete verifiable irreversible denuclearization. Does that mean ballistic missiles as well? And is there enough wiggle room to really get a deal here?
Well, first, Jessica, I have to say I'm impressed by your knowledge of CIVID. That's a tough one. Took me years to have that roll off my tongue. I think disarm or denuclearization, I think at a general level, everyone sort of knows what that means. That means no nuclear weapons. But then what it means operationally and over what time period and in what process and what verification, those are the areas of disagreement. But I was encouraged to see in Secretary Pompeo's press conference, he gets the fact that this is going to be a process. A Stanford professor, friend of mine, former head of a U.S. National Weapons Lab, released a report this week saying that it would, would take
15 years.
Some 15 years, exactly. And in that report, it includes ballistic missiles. And I think that would be part of the negotiation. Certainly long-range ballistic missiles would be part of that. ICBMs would be part of that. And then sort of where it starts to get tricky is around the issue of space launches. North Koreans say they want to be able to have civilian space launches. The U.S. says, well, you know, a rocket that carries a satellite into space is pretty darn close to a ICBM. We don't want you to do that. So that's really going to be left to the negotiators. But like your colleagues, I agree, and with you, I agree that there's a real sense of positive momentum here. The president said it, the Secretary of State said it, and the fact that they're headed to Washington, the delegation tomorrow, something unseen in 20 years, a visit by a North Korean official to Washington, D.C. We're normally pretty prickly about that sort of thing. That all points to me to suggest that there is progress.
But in terms of what Pyongyang is looking for, in terms of a security guarantee, that party newspaper earlier this week saying that an economic aid, the promise of prosperity, which is essentially the carrot that Washington is offering, is not enough. So what is enough?
Sure. Well, the thing is that, you know, there's been a string of cases here where, and it came up earlier in the controversy over referring to Libya, there have been cases where countries have given up their weapons and then they've been toppled. And so economic growth is not enough. You have to have some, if you're sitting in their shoes, you're not going to give up all your weapons and then leave yourself vulnerable to attack unless you can be assured that your security will remain. And that means both regime security, that is to say, North Korea as a country, but also personal security for the leader, which I'm sure he's very focused on. And I think that's going to be among the toughest challenges that Americans will face in this negotiation. You have two enemies, right? And the U.S. has threatened North Korea on various occasions. How do you, as the country that has threatened North Korea, turn around and then say, oh, don't worry, I will provide for your security? So I think other countries are going to have to play a role there.
Quickly, though, the message to U.S. allies, because obviously Japan, the Prime Minister coming to Washington next week. We heard mentioned from Nick Harper there, President Moon wanting in on this three-way summit in Singapore. What is the message and what should be the message from the United States that they won't bargain away the interests of their allies in the course of trying to reach a deal?
Yeah, I think that's, you put your finger on it. I think we heard Secretary Pompeo say it in the press conference that there's no daylight between the position of the U.S. and its allies. You just have to keep saying that over and over again. This is a natural process that I've witnessed several times in my lifetime where the allies all want you to negotiate. They say, please negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. And then the moment you say, yes, I'll meet with the North Koreans, they immediately get worried that they're going to get left out of the room or their interests won't be protected. So I think it's just constant reassurance by word and action and then just try to keep going forward. That's sort of the key.
All right, Jim Walsh, I wish I had more time to talk with you, but we'll have to leave it there. Thanks to you.
Very good.